back to Sci-Fi Graveyard. We're here discussing the next movie in the Predator franchise. We're not doing them so much in order, even though it kind of seems to be that way. We're going to be talking about Predators, which was released on July 9th, 2010 in the United States with an estimated budget of $40 million and an estimated worldwide gross of $127 million, with $52 million of that coming from North America alone. Predators star Adrian Brody, Topher Grace, Lawrence Fishburne in only like 10 minutes, 15 minutes of the movie, Alice
Yep.
Braga,
Not wrong.
Marashala Ali, and I probably butchered that. Sorry. Thank you. Mahershala
Mahershala.
Ali, Oleg Taktarov, and I probably butchered his as well. Walton Goggins, and the always awesome Danny Trejo. The basic premise of this is a group of people that find themselves in a jungle. They realize they aren't on Earth, and they have to try to survive against the warrior hunter race, the Predators. The movie's basic plot was conceived some 30 years ago by Robert Rodriguez while he was working on the film Desperado, and this was in 1994. 20th Century Fox turned it down because the film would have had to
Let's
have
see.
a budget too large for the time period. However, 15 years later, Fox decided to follow through with the movie with an updated version of the script. Robert Rodriguez stated that he was inspired how to make a Predator film just from the original movie from 1987's Predator. He wasn't influenced by Predator 2, AVP, or AVP 2, and not from any of the Predator comics past or up until that time. He produced the film, Robert Rodriguez, through his production company, Troublemaker Studios, instead of Fox, and this was just to allow some creative freedom, more creative control. The name Predators serves as a double meaning, a double entendre, and it's describing the hunters as well as the characters in the movie because each one of them is also a predator of sorts and could easily have killed each other during the course of the movie. The hunting dogs that were seen in the film are actually a callback to the ship in Predator 2. Apparently, their skulls can be seen on board the ship in the final scene where climax where Danny Glover is taking on the Predator. Apparently, Adrian Brody gained 25 pounds of muscle for this movie. And originally, Dutch and Michael Harrigan from Predator and Predator 2, respectively, were going to be cameos in this film, but they were cut out and they were going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny Glover reprising their roles. And let's see here. Alex, don't know why I said Alex. Alice Braga read a sniper rifle manual while preparing for the role, and she carried around a 14-pound sniper rifle during the shoot. So, and her character
Hmm.
Isabella and Dutch, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, are DLC in the 2020 released game Hunting Grounds, which is a Predator game, which I didn't know that existed. So,
It's from the same people that
oh,
did
is it?
Friday the
It's
13th.
only on
Is it
Yeah,
PlayStation, right?
PlayStation
I think
exclusive?
so.
It's
Yeah, I'm
only
pretty
on
sure it is.
PlayStation, I think.
Yeah, I
I
think
got.
Yeah,
so.
I think
Because
so. I don't think I've
they
seen
had
it
it free
anywhere
on
else.
PlayStation Plus, but I haven't seen it on any other console since. Because I mean, usually like Xbox would have showed that up on there. But yeah. So supposedly the same people that did Friday the 13th and um, all the other ones. Like I'm trying to think of I think the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game.
They did that.
They
Was it
did
as good
that
as
one
Friday
too.
the Third?
Even though that
Oh, it was
I
pretty
heard
bad. I
that
was
it
gonna
was
say,
pretty
was it
bad
any
though.
good? Because
Yeah, I haven't checked it out. I guess the Predators, because you get to play as the Predator in it, so and you can play as different variations of Predators. But like they were talking about the AI was bad and certain moves were not like and just the
was
enemies kind of sucked and they rehashed them a lot and stuff like that. So typical bad game type of things. I mean, you never know; they could be working on it. Like because Friday the 13th they constantly worked on up until they stopped uh, because of the
the
stuff with the Friday the
the
13th
lawsuit, which
franchise or whatever, the lawsuit or whatever. Yeah, like once they did that, so I mean, they try to like do better for their games. I mean, I don't know if they have to crunch to get
But
game's out or not. But eventually, I should check
didn't
it
Texas
out. But
Chainsaw
like, yeah.
Massacre though do poorly for them? For gun, it's Gun Media, right?
Oh, for the game, yeah. I don't think many people played it, but like I think more people played it because it was on Game
I
Pass
think
than actually buying it. I mean, to me, it was
you liked
fun.
it more
I
than
can
Friday the
tell you though,
13th.
I like
Yeah,
that more than
yeah, it
Friday
was
the
fun just
13th, to
because
be
there's
honest.
more people involved.
Yeah,
Like there's seven people, and so yeah,
there
there
was
was
more to
seven
do.
people,
Yeah, I
but
mean,
you get to use three people are the bad guys, four people are the survivors, and then like there's four or five different maps over based
That's
around the
cool.
whole game. So like there was like there's a lot to it, and like there's like skill trees and everything. It's kind of like Dead by Daylight, but a better version of Dead by Daylight
I
with
remember not
certain
liking
aspects.
Dead by
Even
Daylight.
though
See,
the
I didn't
people
care for Dead
love
by
Dead by
Daylight. I
Daylight,
liked
I mean, it's okay to me, but I mean, like that's kind of like how
See, my
Predator
mom would
Hunting
have
Grounds
probably
is too. Like it's like one predator against like I think
my mom would
three
have
or
loved
four
probably
people.
Predator, and my mom probably would have loved Texas Chainsaw Massacre if she was still alive. That's what sucked. Yeah, she would have probably played it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely because like the core bad guys are most of the people that were in the
Interesting.
first movie. Like, yeah, but even though there's a bunch of different versions of
Well,
Leatherface and
yeah, there's
stuff,
been
but
like reincarnate the several versions because of the reboots and stuff like that. So the last thing I want to bring up, and
yeah,
we can discuss the movie a little bit more in depth, or just talk about our opinions of the film. I'm gonna just list why each character was chosen to be on the planet because it's said rather quickly in the movie, and so I just thought it would be cool just to throw that out there. So Isabella is theirs because she's potentially a member of the Israeli Defense Force. She's asked about that, but she never confirms nor denies it. But showing how she uses a gun, she's probably a sniper with the IDF. Edwin Topher Grace, he's a sociopath and serial killer, which you don't find out until the climax of the film. It was a good
great
twist.
twist of the movie.
Mobasa was a
Yeah,
death squad officer in the Revolutionary United Front, so he was Nikolai was Russian Spetsnaz, which is their special forces. You could, if anyone who's listening doesn't know, Spetsnaz could be quasi equivalent to the Navy SEALs, Navy, pretty much. Stans, which was the prisoner, was a mass murderer. He was on death row. He actually says in the movie he was like 2 days from execution. Hanzo was a Yakuza enforcer and assassin. So that's why he was there. Chuchillo, which is supposed to be Spanish for knife, and I probably butchered that because my Spanish is terrible. Uh, do you ever never really find out what his real name is? But apparently he's an enforcer for the Las Vegas drug cartel. And then Nolan is a former United States Army soldier with the 1st Cavalry Division. And the callback to that scene is Lawrence Fishburne is actually in Apocalypse Now, which is why he did the Bonfire of the Vanities theme when talking about that because that was depicted in Apocalypse Now. And Royce, which is the main character, him and Isabella are kind of the main characters of the movie. He was an elite mercenary.
hmm
His character is an American. But funny enough, and this information is, of course, according to the wiki avpfandom.com. And according to that website, Royce and Isabella actually eventually get off the planet. And if I read what they stated correctly about the characters, he actually goes off to meet predators face to face. I think he's going to go fight more predators, and Isabella returns to Earth. And I think that's in the I think that's a comic book thing. It didn't really state where that information was from, but
Oh yeah, it
but
probably
if I had to
was.
guess, it was
It
a
probably
comic
was.
book. It's comic book, so I don't know if that's considered canon to the movies, but not sure.
I don't think that anything where it was like anything made around the Predator franchise should
You
be
think so?
involved as canon. Like I think the same way with the Star Wars novels and stuff, mostly because they're so vast and you could pretty much come up with anything to tell a story. So I mean, most people will just stick to just straight the movies. But like I think if you're making lore around like especially if it's branded from the people that made Predator, like I would say include it. Just because like if they allowed it to happen, then it should be
It's
like
the only
canon.
the only franchise I know that's never canonized. It's extended universe type stuff like Star Wars. Up until Disney bought it, had the expanded universe through the novels. Um, was Star Trek because all the novels they kind of people try to use them in canon conversations, but all the Star Trek novels, at least during the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and all that, none of them none of them flowed. Well, they never flowed,
Consider it.
and they never. And sometimes they would contradict each other, so they were never considered canon. Only what you
Mm,
saw on screen. So the TV shows and the movies, even the animated series from the 70s, was not considered canon, except for a few details about Spock. But going on back to
yeah.
Predators, not to be confused with Predator or the Predator, which is the. I think we're gonna do the Predator last, just because I want to do Prey next, because Prey was really awesome. But what did how when did how is this y'all's first time seeing this movie? Or have y'all seen it before?
No, I've seen it a few times. I really love this movie. Like it was way better than I thought it was going to
I've
be.
seen it.
That was me.
I've seen it
That was a
before, but it was a
refresher for me
while
too.
ago, so it was a refresher for me. Um, the interesting
Very good.
part, and I'll just step in because I haven't really talked all that much, but it reminded me a lot of the makeup of the characters in the first one because there was a girl and then a bunch of guys around the girl. The only difference was I liked the premise that they were dropped on the planet to basically hunt each other, or as they found
So
out, there were
a fight for
people
survival.
or predators hunting them. So yeah, yeah. So I mean, that was a good twist because like the first one was literally they were in the jungle and they came across this one predator out there. This one was like they were
Yeah.
dropped there for a reason, and at first they didn't know why. And but yeah, like you guys said, the twist with Topher Grace, because Topher Grace has a tendency in every movie I've watched, he almost plays,
Yeah,
and even TV shows, plays
Hmm.
almost the same kind of person. So even going into this movie at the beginning, he was playing the same person,
yeah, because he was
and then all of a sudden it was flipped on its head. And because I don't know if I've ever seen him in a role where he's
I
been a
mean,
dick.
other
yes,
than
I
Spider-Man
mean,
3, but he
because
wasn't really like a dick.
yeah, but even in that,
Yeah,
he
he was
wasn't
kind of like,
really
oh,
that. I
yeah,
mean, because it
yeah.
was a campy.
he was a
The
campy
Spider-Man
dick.
3's kind of Sam Raimi. It's that campy stuff. This one, yeah, and this was like literally
Oh,
what
yeah.
he was
Yeah,
a serial killer
yeah.
and he intended to stay there. It's like what? If I had all this shit going on around me,
Cause
my goal would not be to stay somewhere like that. Mm-mm.
right,
My goal would be to find my way the hell out of there. And it would be by any means necessary. The fact that he was willing to
Yeah,
just
and then
off
just stay
people and
there, yeah.
then stay
yeah,
there
because
was like
like he
it's
takes
like
out
okay.
Isabella with the
Um
scalpel he used to uh trigger the poison that came on the plant that was extinct on Earth. Eh,
yeah. But the other thing too is Royce, you were talking about Adrian Brody gained 25 pounds. I'm like, how fucking
Yeah.
skinny was this dude before making the movie? Because if he gained 25 pounds, he
No,
must
he
have been a
wasn't.
damn skeleton
Yeah, no,
because
he
he
was more
wasn't that
jacked
big
than
in this.
anything else. Like, really, he probably
I
gained a
mean,
bunch of muscle.
but I mean,
Yeah.
25 pounds of muscle,
That is,
I mean,
and
that's
I'm
still a good amount of freaking weight. So, and so, but I mean, most of the guys I'm used to, and like I was saying, Oleg Toktarov, the one that played Nikolai, it reminded me of
yeah,
Jesse
Yeah,
Ventura and
I
Bill
think
Duke's
that's what
character
they
from the
kind
first
of
one.
did with this movie, and the one reason why I love it so much
Yeah,
was because This was the first, like, I mean, yeah, there was Predator too, but like, this one was like a totally new thing, but then they were bringing elements from the first movie into it. Like, even her talking about Dutch and everyone from the first film, which gives Royce the idea to like put the clay on him to hide himself at the end of the movie and stuff like that. Just little bits and pieces that looked like it was not really like a rehashing, but it was like an homage to the first film because they even did like the whole like knife thing where the Yakuza guy came out and took his shirt off and did an honor thing with the katana and shit. I just loved the whole movie. It was
That was
just so
probably my
good.
favorite scene of the movie was
And it's
the
one,
sword fight with the.
yeah, it's like, oh, and then Goggins too. I like the stuff from
Oh
him
yeah.
too, like his arc throughout the whole movie and stuff like that. Yeah,
Well, I've
Walton
always been a
Goggins
fan
is
of
great.
Walton Goggins. We used to watch. Yeah, we watched a show called Unicorn. I think it was called. It was a comedy where he was like a widow, and it's on AB. It was on a short time. I think it was on CBS or something. But I think he's
Fallout
in.
is
Oh,
the
is he in
Uh,
latest
Fallout?
one
what is
now.
he on
He
now?
Oh,
plays the
Fallout,
dual
right?
in
I heard
Fallout.
Yeah.
that's really
Yeah.
good.
And
I heard.
And
hmm
oh man, I'm telling you, if anyone's a fan of Fallout, like watch the show. It's kind of slow in parts, but like they pay off like anybody that was curious about Fallout, like who like because the whole premise is like uh bombs drops. So then they were like assuming that all this countries drop bombs. So like the whole time you're like trying to figure out who actually dropped the first one to make it Fallout, right? And then they even pay that off in the series. It's like they do a lot, especially through Walter Goggins' character. I just love the story between, like, knowing that they only have three main characters and they tell a story between all the factions and shit. I highly recommend the show, especially if you played any of the Fallout games.
but yeah, but yeah, it was crazy
Oh
too. Like Danny
yeah,
Trejo reminded me
Well,
of
that's what I'm saying.
Sonny
They
from the
all
first
had
one,
like certain deaths were
and
like
so
kind
it
of
was like,
similar.
yeah.
Sorry.
So that was one
yeah.
thing. Well, I'm just saying, just the character makeup of it, and like I was alluding to before, was that it kind
It
of
was.
almost was a homage to the first one, even though he
It
said it wasn't, but it
it
really
was.
came
It
off
was.
like it
Yeah.
was.
You could tell
Um,
definitely he was heavily inspired by 1987's
so,
Predator because of the set. For one, the setting, the jungle makes a lot of sense, and two, just the characterizations and how he built it, which probably why this one is so good. And I'm not saying he took like immediately, stole everything, but he did really take the basic premise of the first one and just made it bigger, so to speak. Yeah,
It made
and
it way bigger. Knowing that he did it on their planet, and especially
I'm
imagine
on the
being
podcast. What?
one of those people where you were just
No, one's
waking up
gone.
with a
right.
free fall, them just chuck you out of a fucking thing and throw you on this planet, and you instantly wake up and you're like, "Where the fuck am I?" Like that type of moment. It's just like that's when I was like, okay, this is gonna be really good if
It,
this is like where it's gonna start. And it just kept on ramping up, and then like the variants of predators and everything that was in the like, especially the different classes of like predators and
that
shit,
was pretty
which I
cool.
thought was cool. It added more depth. It added more depth to the predators instead of it just being an honor thing where it's hunting. Now
Well,
it's
yeah,
like
because
different classes do different type of things, so it makes it yeah.
well, and that's what I was going to point out in the credits that
Yeah,
I
there was
think
like
there were
several different
four
types.
different types of predators in this one. So there was it showed in the credits that there was the classic predator, which was the same one from the original movie, and then they had the tracker predator, which um, was the one that had the tusks attached to the helmet, and that was the one that controlled the
Yeah.
freaking hunting animals, the one that was killed by Nikolai, and then the falconer Predator was the one that I believe flew the drone and was killed by Hanzo, and then the Berserker Predator was the one that had the xenomorph mandible
which
attached to
was
its
Yeah, that
helmet
was
pretty
pretty
fucking
awesome.
and
dope.
fought
I
Royce
really
at the end. Yeah.
what did y'all think about Chichilo's death? Danny Trejo's character's death. Even though he was the first to die, which sucked, but
Wait, yeah, yeah. I thought it was going to happen later on in
me
the
too,
movie,
but I will say
honestly.
he did kind of have a cool like it was off screen, which sucked, but the cool thing was when you find out that he's actually already dead and it's the predator mimicking his voice. And that part was pretty cool because she shoots him and he's still
Mm-hmm.
going off like he's alive, and it's like then it cuts to like the predator vision where he's like you see the sound waves and stuff. I thought that was pretty cool. I think that was only the really death. Well, the only other death that was really cool was when Hanzo died because they took each other out. They both gave each other a killing blow,
Yeah,
and even the and so that was pretty cool. He was like still able to hold his own even though he was missing like two fingers on one hand, which is like a Yakuza thing I think I read where they cut your fingers off to make it harder for you to hold a sword. And he was still
Mm-hmm.
able to like
yeah.
take down a predator.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's
Yeah,
also a punishment too. Like they make it like whenever you fuck up in the Yakuza, they make you take off one of your fingers. I only know that based on the Yakuza game.
The other
So I'm
thing I the other thing I noticed too is I always point this out on the Scream Creeps podcast, but I'm always surprised at how quick these things are filmed. So it's like it was filmed on a 53-day schedule, but it only took
damn,
22 days. No, it was 53 days, but it was wrapped on a 22-day
damn,
shoot from Hawaii.
that was pretty fast.
So it started at the end of Yeah, it started at the end of September and ended on November 1st. I'm always shocked by how fast,
yeah, and
considering how much money
Yeah,
they spend for one.
and like I said,
It's like
the best part of this was that
they
they kept it simple, but they made it
so
bigger. They fleshed out the lore with the different types of predators.
yeah,
They
mhm.
they kept like they made everyone kind of familiar a little bit, but I mean I don't want to say the characters are relatable because last time I checked, none of us are serial killers or anything like that. So, it's
yeah,
or
or like
special
armed
forces
forces
or
people.
yakuza.
Like,
Mhm.
No,
Well, they were all
they
necessarily
were.
bad people and they were basically put there to frickin'
yeah,
die. I mean, either by their own hand, either by one of the others or by the predators that were on the
Yeah,
planet.
because
So
like
the goal was that
yeah.
no one would
Or to
live.
feed them to make sure that nobody
Which
else got like the
which
predators didn't go
which
to
would
their
be
planet.
which would be
You know what I'm
not
saying?
yeah, but which would be nice though that in a movie like this, I've talked about it in other ones where it's always like, they always have to have a somewhat
yeah, it was
happy
kind of
ending.
open
Well,
ended
in this movie,
in a
it
way
would have been okay
because you
to
see
not.
the. I
Yeah,
don't want
Like,
to say they were ships because I remember when I
yeah,
first saw this, I
so
thought it was more ships
um
landing. They were dropping more people to start it again.
well, yeah, they were
well, yeah.
dropping more
So
people
like
down, I
it
think.
wasn't like a necessarily good
Yeah.
and like a great or a good a good ending because I mean essentially they still had to keep fighting to get off the planet. So I mean, but yeah, I get what you
Yeah, but I
mean.
would have liked, I'm almost
Yeah,
would
they
have
could have
liked
killed
to have
every.
seen you
They
could
could
have
have pulled
seen
like a Rogue
everybody
One where
die
everyone died at the
and
end,
Yeah,
then they
and
dropped more people.
could have made the Predators
yeah.
victorious.
So, yeah.
But
Mhm.
oh, Rogue One, yeah,
That's one of the best Star Wars movies
I was
for
having
me.
a conversation
Honestly,
with my
Rogue
cousin
One.
about
It was
that.
one of
Yeah,
my favorite
supposedly I
ones.
thought they
Yeah.
were making a TV
Well, they
show,
made Andor.
aren't they? Or they already did? Yeah, that's what I was saying.
It was brilliant. It went right up to the I mean, yeah, it was for me it was one of the best ones, if not the best one. But like for me, I haven't seen Prey yet, but out of all the ones I've
Yeah,
watched,
we're gonna
the
do that one last.
Predator for me, the one that
See,
we're gonna do
I
last, I
wanted to
guess,
see.
is one
The
of my favorite
Predator
I've
is
never
ones.
one of your
seen the
favorite
Predator.
ones. See, I thought it was okay,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean,
Mm-hmm. If it's the one
it's
that I'm thinking about, because it's very
well, I mean,
violent, if I
it's the one
remember.
that it has
And
If
like
I'm
a
thinking
Thomas
of the right
Jane.
gunman,
one,
and then yeah, Thomas Jane in it.
Well,
yeah, I might
the
be
only movie we're
thinking of
not
the
gonna
wrong
the only
movie
movies we're
though.
not gonna
We'll
talk
have to
about
watch
is
it.
the
It might
AVP
be.
movies. Because I'll be honest with you, even when they came out, I really didn't have any interest in seeing them, and I
Mm-hmm.
still don't have any interest to watch them. And
I mean, the first one's good, and the
Mm-hmm.
second one's
I
okay. Like to because it just felt like the second one they just made just
it's
to
kind
like
of
make more money. It seemed like because I don't even hardly remember it. I own it, but like I would have to do like a refresher because like I don't remember a whole
like
lot from the
because
movie.
this one at least has to me has some rewatchability with it. Like it's a good movie. It has a good pacing. The unexpected part was Lawrence Fishburne being like a crazy man who tries to trap him in the traps him.
Oh yeah, and then tries to
Yeah,
just
and then
take all their shit. Like I mean, granted, it would be a smart
and,
tactic for him
and
to
I want to
do
know
that a lot.
what's that? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut
Like
you off.
it, oh, it's fine.
I want to know
Go
how long
ahead.
a season is because if he's been there for 10 seasons, what is that? A year? Is that like a month? Is it
I'm assuming probably like a year, but
because
like
like
I don't
I
know.
would I read somewhere that originally they were gonna. I don't know how true this is. I don't know if I read it or heard it on a review. Was that they were gonna originally make that Danny Glover's character, and I'm like, I'm kind of glad if that was true. I'm glad they didn't because I'd hate to see that character go through that
Yeah, yeah, because yeah, exactly, and
and then to
then to
turn on the
turn on the
people
people.
because this one takes place in modern time, like 2010. It came out in 2010. It takes place around that time, and whereas Predator 2 came out in 1990, but it didn't take place in 1990. I think it took place in what 98. I think close to 2000. Like it took a few
Something
years
like that. Yeah,
later. So, who's to say how long he's been there? But also, why would they capture him when the other ship was like, "Hey, good show killing our guy. We respect you. Here's a gun. So here's a flintlock pistol."
yeah.
So, but this movie,
It's good knowing that they didn't have Dutch
I mean,
and him in
as
the
much as
movie. Honestly, I wouldn't have minded the cameos, but also at the same time, it would have it kind of fucked up what they
yeah,
did in
it's
the first two
honestly,
movies. Like because they got scot free from killing the predators, so you would hope that they would stay free from the predators, and then if they showed up on the planet, it would be like, damn, well,
right?
everyone's
Because
fucked.
it's like as much as it would be cool to see Arnold again, I don't think any of the movies really need him. As this one didn't really
Needed
need
them, yeah.
him.
Because most of the
There's
movies are all
yeah,
standalone ones. Like you don't, they're not like anything connected. So like really, you don't need to end up having them that way too. Like it's good for them to be kind of like an anthology thing, like where they're set around the same time. Like this one, how she was telling them about Dutch, pretty
yeah,
much, or
yeah. It was
it was
Dutch.
Dutch,
Yeah,
right?
she was talking
Arnold
about
Schwarzenegger's character.
the first Predator
Okay,
movie.
like talking about him so they got knowledge about it. But like having them there, it would have like kind
And
of been like,
and
really,
honestly,
why did they do that? I
and I think
understand.
having Arnold in this movie with how big he is, his how big as of an actor he is, even though he at this point he was governor I think at the time when this movie came out. So, but his he would have overshadowed this movie. I think he would have just overshadowed it, and I think the characters. I think it would have done a disservice to the characters and the actors we had in the film. And that's nothing against Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's just because he's such this megastar that the the movie. I think the movie's better served relying on its own characters and its own
Yeah,
ideas and not. I mean, yeah, it has to establish it takes place in the same universe as the first Predator movie, even Predator 2, And I don't know where AVP fits in all these Predator movies if they exist in the same universe.
I think they already said that
Yeah, I think
they
they're their
kind of don't.
own.
They kind of quasi can and do, because they've showed that the predators have killed aliens, but like I would say that they were still in the same thing, but they've never exactly said
It's
when
like
the
I think
times happened.
AVP takes place in the Alien
You know,
universe, whereas because they talk about the Waylulani, I can't remember the name of the company. Thank you. Yeah.
Wayland Utani, I
And they
think it
talk
was called.
about them in like those movies where these don't. So maybe they're two different universes in a multiverse, but then you're
I mean,
convoluting
it's
things,
possible.
and the
Yeah,
average moviegoer isn't going to care about multiverse and universes and stuff like that. They're only
yeah.
nerds like
Only
us.
nerds like us. No, I'm
So,
just kidding.
was there anything y'all didn't like about this movie?
Yeah, I could rewatch it over time, like if it was on
I
TV.
feel the same.
Nothing that I can
There's
really
nothing. The only
point out,
there's
to
one
be
thing I
honest
didn't
with
like
you,
about this
from
movie. It
my
has nothing to do with
perspective
the
of.
story, the characters. I just really didn't care for Adrian Brody's voice in this movie. That was it.
I loved his weapon. That's the main thing I loved about like his weapon is awesome because it was like literally an 8A12 where it's a combat automatic combat
It's
shotgun. So I love that
I didn't
shotgun.
I
It's
didn't
just
hate
amazing.
like his acting. It's just the voice he used. That's the sorry. I don't mean I don't know why I'm yawning all of a sudden.
Well,
He
he
was
was
like,
trying
I'm
to
gonna
be
talk
like
like this
Dutch.
throughout the whole movie.
Uh, I gotta
Gotta be
be
gravelly.
me. Like
And
I
they gotta
gotta
use
be
the
the
hero voice.
hero.
Gotta be gravelly. I think that was the only.
Hey, a
That's
typical
right.
predator
That's
hero
the
voice
only
kind
complaint. That's the only complaint I have about this movie. I think if I were to rank this one for the um what the three we've covered so far, this is probably my second best one because I don't think anything can beat the
Oh,
first
it
one in
was
my
the
opinion,
second
just
best
because
one. Yeah.
it's the first one.
Yeah.
Um, I think it was a good
Mm-mm.
movie. I think it's definitely should be if you like the Predator franchise, this one should definitely be watched. Now I don't know how I feel about Predators or not Predators. This is Predators.
Oh, so have you not
I've never
watched
seen the Predator.
You
Predator
got me
yet?
I've never seen
questioning
it. I
whether
don't
or not
know.
I'm thinking
Yeah,
of the
I
right.
was excited.
Okay, okay. So you what's it called? I watched it in
I
theaters with me and Rusty
I'm
a while back, and it
I'm
was
I
okay. It
I
just
remember
goes
wanting to see
real
it
weird.
because Shane Black wrote it,
Like,
and I think he directed it. And then Fred
yeah,
Decker
yeah.
was one of the writers on it, and I believe Fred Decker was the one who gave us the Monster Squad. And
See, I can't remember if they did something where it was studio involvement. I know that there was something going on where Shane Black was doing something and they had to do
they
reshoots or
probably
something for the
did.
movie. It was like reshoots or change the story around. I don't
That's
remember what it was. So it was kind of different from what
oh
he
yeah.
intended.
He
But like it's still kind of a campy
see.
movie.
I'm
It's
okay
just
with
okay. I wouldn't say that it was bad, but like it just
see.
wasn't
I'm
great either. Yeah,
Well, like I
yeah.
said, I might be
You
I
confusing
might
the
be.
movies,
I
what I
don't know.
said before.
will probably do that one last because that's
So
the
Yeah.
only one I
when
don't
we
have
watch
access
it,
to
I'll
right
see
now,
if this is the one that
and
I'm
so I have
thinking
to
of.
wait till I get access to it. And so we're gonna do Prey next, and which is available on Hulu. This one is actually, if you want to watch this one's available right at least at time of recording and release is available on HBO Max to watch. Yeah, this
Oh, really?
I I watched it
Yeah,
earlier today. I
I
always try to
watched
watch the
it
movies
earlier.
like
I
either
mean,
the
I
day
watched
before we
it
do the
on there. That's
podcast
fine.
or the day of because I want the movie fresh in my mind when we talk about it.
Yeah.
It and
I understand that because I kind of watched this like because we were gonna film the podcast a
yeah.
week ago and then I don't remember if it was
No,
my
it
fault
was
or
the first
scheduling or whatever. But like I watched it last week, and then I was just
No,
sitting
what
there. I
it
was like,
was is
shit.
I was gonna watch. We were gonna do it 2 weeks ago, and I got sick because I was having issues with my insulin. And
Oh yeah,
then
that's what it
Jeremy was
was.
at
Yeah,
Dynamite, so I didn't want him to feel rushed to get home to do it. And so he was
yeah,
watching AEW, and so I didn't want to make him feel rushed to have to then get into a different mindset. So
yeah.
I was trying to be
I mean,
fair,
it's all good. Shit gets and shit
and
works out
and
for
I
a
want to get
reason
more on a
most
regular
times.
schedule with these. I know we're probably still gonna probably do the once a month thing because I know y'all have like 4 or 5 things y'all do each month for the different podcasts like Scream Creeps, Wrestling with the Willies,
Yeah, it's all good. We'll
and
figure something out. So like, if you got the time, well, that's how we
and
do
I out
things.
of
We
the
figure it out. And now we started our own. Well, I don't know if it's going to be a channel, but we started our own video series where it's me and Jeremy, at least right now. Aaron's probably going to join in at one point where we do music video reaction. So we
and
already, I think we're supposed. I'm like, it hasn't released yet, but like thinking the yeah we
Yeah, Ronald comes.
and
Well, by the time
so
this
keep an eye out,
podcast
guys, for
comes
that.
out,
yeah
And if
it
you
will
listen to
have
this,
been
the Heart of
released.
Geek, our website, they do streams on Twitch. Heart of Geek, I think is what it is on Twitch because we couldn't use the Heart of Geek. Um, and you can see, I can't remember because we set that up like
I may have
several
just not
years
put
ago
the
when we
Heart
were
of
just
yeah
Geek
starting
on
out.
there.
So
I don't
things were in
remember.
flux. The other podcasts
Yeah,
are Wrestling with the Willies,
yeah.
Scream Creeps, and I can't remember the true crime one. Morbid Instinct.
morbid
And then of course
instinct.
they're starting to do stuff on YouTube. I believe you said the reactions are going to be YouTube.
Yeah, we Aaron's been doing random
Yeah.
reacts where it's just like
And
whatever comes into a stream or like whatever anybody asks for him. And then I was just like the other day, I was like, we should just do because we were talking about it. And we're like, we should just do whatever, like whatever music videos, especially ones that I haven't had him listen to yet. So or like I was curious how he would feel about it. So yeah, just be
sorry.
prepared for that stuff. And especially, like we're gonna be shooting out content everywhere. So like we got a bunch of stuff in the
And then of
pipeline.
course
Like go to
heartofgeek.com. There's a
heartofgeek.com
few game reviews on
and
there,
yeah,
different things. Josh does music.
yeah. I need to do some more. I mean, like I need to do some like what's it called? I know I was playing another another crab's treasure or whatever it's called, where it's a Dark Souls crab game. So you play as a hermit crab, and then you kill a
Sounds
bunch of crabs
that sounds a lot of
trying to
fun.
get your shell back.
So
So yeah, it is goofy as hell, like a lone shark, where it's just like a shark on a little wood pole thing takes your fucking shell. So
so
yeah,
definitely
it's like yeah,
so definitely check that
there's a
out,
lot
y'all.
to
Check
it.
out our socials. X. I hate calling it X. Damn you.
Just call it Twitter. Everybody knows that it's
Uh,
Twitter.
Yeah, we're on, we're pretty much on all
Definitely
of
check
them.
out the
We're on
top. Are we on?
Facebook,
Are you
X,
on Threads?
TikTok, Instagram.
Oh no. Wait, when
No.
you got X or whatever, why do you need
It's Facebook's
threads?
version
The
of
hell?
Twitter. That's all
It's
it is.
another Twitter. And that's all it is. I already got enough off of the crazy people that are
I
on
feel you.
Twitter. I don't need
But
another
anyway,
one. Yeah, people are
but def
crazy.
right.
That's all
But
I know
definitely
for
check out our
sure.
socials. I would say watch this movie. We're not. This one should be if we were to do the old school like Rise from the Dead, Let It Rest in Peace. This would be Rest in Peace. I don't think it needs to be touched in any way.
Yeah, definitely rest in
Um,
peace.
I
Yeah.
don't think so. I think the only thing is when we talk about the
Yeah.
Predator, I'll when we look up the. I hope it's not studio interference because studio interference has killed so many good movies that had potential. Like look at the 2011 thing.
Yeah.
That would have been way better had studio interference not fucked up the special effects. I'm glad Robert Rodriguez, who produced this film,
Yeah.
had creative control because I think that's why this movie is as good as it is. I really think that's
Yeah.
why.
it makes sense because I didn't realize that he was
I didn't
like
realize it
Yeah.
employed.
either.
So like I wasn't thinking about it until because I knew that what his studio company name was, and I can't believe I was
Yeah,
not putting
I
two
didn't
and two
realize
together.
that at all because until I started doing the research for this. So I'm actually glad that they had some creative control because because we all know how Fox does their TV shows. Can you imagine how 20th Century Fox would have handled this? But is there any?
Yeah, and technically, I think Predator is like a
Yeah, since
Disney-owned
they bought
property
20th
now,
Century,
right?
yeah, since they own Fox now,
Fox.
it's now Disney.
Yeah, because it's
So,
Fox.
so does that make Predator a Disney princess? No, I'm just kidding.
There's one
Couldn't help
thing that
myself.
people were like, "This so and so's a Disney princess now." I'm like, "Well, no, they're not because they weren't a princess to begin with, so they're not they're not a princess."
I
They're
know
like,
a lot of people end up saying
yeah,
the damn logic where it's like once it's a female character
I
or
think
something that gets into Disney, they
I
automatically
think the
become a Disney princess. That's why I kind of like was joking about it. Now, and now somebody's got to make a fucking predator and like a
put the
fucking
predator in
princess
Snow
gown.
White's
That would be
outfit
funny.
or the alien
Yeah, that
queen
would
in
be
like
funny.
Cinderella's dress. But any final thoughts, Jeremy? All right. Well, we'll
Nope.
end it here. Anyway, guys, this was one of the
No,
better
I'm
movies in the
good.
Predator franchise. Don't ask me why I've never wanted to see AVP. They just didn't look like they appealed to me, so we're not going to talk about them unless y'all want to down the line. But the next one we're going to do is Prey, which was released in Hulu during the pandemic, or I think actually in 2022. But I think there was some, yeah, 2022. The next one will be Prey,
It
but
was
I think
around there,
the
whatever.
pandemic interfered with it. So that's why I think it was released in 2022. So that's what we're going to do next in the series, and then we're going to end with the Predator. So we'll have that for the next two, and then after that we'll see where we go from there movie wise. I'm not sure what to do next because I haven't thought that far ahead in my life. So anyway, if there's nothing else, I want to wish you all a good night. Check out our socials, The Heart of Geek, and check out our other podcasts. So I'm not a part of the other ones. I mostly just do this one because of work schedule, but
Yep.
hopefully that'll change as well soon too. So everyone have a good night. Good night.
Peace.